So it was like we were just sitting there having a nice, relaxing season of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Buffy vs. Dracula was some campy fun. The Replacement was a funny, rompy Xander episode. Family gave us some of that lovely intimacy the series can be so good at. The Mystery of Dawn was subverting the Cousin Oliver trope in a fun and interesting way. And then, in came the last 3 episodes like...
I've got a shadow.
It's a killer snot monster from outer space.
This is fun. If you don't want to hear what I have to say, I'll shut up right now.
What the hell just happened?
The episode opens with Xander and Anya giving us a quick reminder of Into the Woods.
Maybe it won't happen to us because it's all about her messing things up.
In a bubble, it's a cute scene that both Nicholas and Emma play well. Problem is, I still have a bit of a rage over going in from Xander's Into the Woods scene with Buffy. I'm not going to rehash that here, lest I start hyperventilating and pass out on the microphone. I realize the scene was probably intended to just be set up for the cold open convent joke and to restate the events of the previous episode and to give us some insight into Buffy's current inner monologue. But it definitely comes off as smug and judgy.
And after you smite a few of them, you start going, my goodness, young lady, maybe you're doing something wrong here too?
Yeah, relationship debris is kind of piling up on the Buffy highway.
I do really like the convent joke, and both Buffy's hoops and sheer hot pink number feel like deliberate commentary, as if to say, yeah, she's down, but Buffy's always going to be Buffy. The next day, Giles says he's reached out to the Watchers Council for aid with Glory and is going to England.
Going away for a week? That's great.
Giles has concerns over Anya running the store without him, and the rest of the gang say they'll help out, which Anya doesn't appreciate. Xander tries to deflect.
So, how goes the slaying?
I killed something in a convent last night.
Sarah's deadpan delivery is hilarious there. Joyce is on the mend, and Buffy shares with Dawn what she's feeling from the breakup, in one of my favorite scenes of the episode.
It hurts. In all kinds of horrible ways. In the way when I'm furious at him. In the way where I blame myself.
This is the only acknowledgement of the idea that Buffy may and should be dealing with some justified anger at Riley over what happened. In the opening scene, Xander and Anya put all of the responsibility for her failed relationships on her, and the rest of the episode plays her grief as a joke, which is all fine, of course. We desperately needed a breather episode, but it does make me happy this scene is here. Marsters steals a bit of the show with a one-sided romantic apology that turns into an argument in his own head, which he loses. It's probably not a great sign the degree to which I identify with losing an argument inside your own head. At the magic box, Willow is helping herself to some of the supplies, trying to make a ball of sunshine for Buffy. Buffy fights at night, so a ball of sunshine would be kind of like a portable dawn she could keep in her pocket. I'm sure that's not a symbol. Anya expresses frustration with Willow's 5-finger discount, to which Willow replies,
You're the fish.
Which by extension then would make Willow the troublemaking, instigating con artist Cat, who, even as a kid, I assumed was the villain of the story. I was something of a chronic rule follower. Though maybe more accurately, the cat is id run rampant and the fish is the superego.
Come on, it'll be fun. We could show you how to do some stuff.
This is peer pressure. Any second now you're going to make me smoke tobacco and have drugs.
As the scene progresses, Willow's antics continue to make things worse. Tara and Xander leave to let their significant others sort out their own troubles, but they don't, which causes Willow's spell to go bad and summon a troll. At first I was scratching my head at exactly why the spell misfires the way it does, and in such a coincidental way as to summon someone personally relevant to Anya, but it is all there in the scene. Willow has all the ingredients on the table needed to pull the spell off. The first part of the spell creates her Zoom call to the spirits of light. She says a pretty important line just before finally getting frustrated and turning on Anya.
Spirits of light, grant my wishes.
In other words, whatever she says next is her wish.
Whatever really has you mad, why don't you just say it, like you do every other thought that stomps through your brain? Come on, let it out.
So, Willow inadvertently asks for something that is stomping around Anya's brain, making her mad to be let out, at the same moment that her Zoom call to the spirits of light starts to drop, touching the last ingredient needed to complete the spell that is laid out next to the bowl. Fair enough. In a rare scene with just Buffy and Tara, Buffy says she's coming to grips with Riley being gone, but betrays the grief she's processing when hearing about Anya and Xander squabbling.
I think they have a beautiful love.
Willow and Anya set off after the troll. Tara and Buffy find his wake, and at the Bronze, Spike runs into Xander skulking over his bowl of nuts, which feels like all of the metaphors. Spike offers some supportive culinary suggestions.
They have chicken wings, too. Also a sort of a flower-shaped thing they make from an onion.
Of course, since all the Scoobies are deeply in need of therapy, one scene later, Xander is confiding in Spike about his relationship troubles.
Sometimes I'll say something about Anya, and Willow will get this look, what the hell do you see in her?
A lot of people never really got Drew, you know.
I'm ringing all over.
She was insane.
Everyone, including Troll, run into each other, and it's revealed that Anya
You dated him?
made the troll out of her ex for cheating on her, and that's how she got the job as a vengeance demon. As Willow and Anya try to figure out a spell to get rid of him, Xander attempts to defend them, and the troll forces him to make a choice.
Only one of your women shall die, and you shall be the one to choose.
Xander refuses. Buffy finds her necessary emotional catharsis on the troll's face, and the episode ends with Dawn taking after Buffy and her ability to be in the right place at the right time to overhear information that drives the plot. Though, if the family is trying to keep this a secret from her, I'm not sure why they're having this conversation in the house in a room with no doors. But it doesn't matter. I really enjoy Triangle. It's like getting to have a big, fluffy slice of strawberry shortcake with cream and a big pile of fruit after having been force-fed 3 episodes worth of melancholy beige kale chips and gloomy gray iceberg salads with Thousand Island dressing. I might have gotten a little lost in the metaphor there, but seriously, what the hell just happened? With Triangle, the dreary trilogy is now behind us, and maybe we can stop and wonder about what that was. Thanks to Anya, Into the Woods was not completely devoid of any charm, but Shadow and Listening to Fear were dark, joyless slogs for me. Hard gear changes in a season that began with the actual Prince of Darkness hamming it up on screen. More than one person left a comment on my video for Listening to Fear, telling me how much the episode meant to them, having had to care for a parent with dementia. And look, I get it. The ways in which fiction reflects life, the ways we find ourselves in our stories and take strength from that, is kind of what this channel is all about. But there is something off about the trilogy. It's not simply that the past 3 episodes were depressing. Season 6 is regularly criticized for being one of the most depressing seasons of the show, but it is the one I most regularly point to as my favorite. There have been many episodes in the series already that tackled painful issues, but they didn't leave me feeling quite so depleted, emotionally constipated, and that is ordinarily a balance that the show manages so successfully. Truthfully, I'm not sure exactly where the line is when an episode goes from creating a sad but satisfying emotional catharsis to just outright depression and melancholy. But I know that line is there because Wild at Heart, the former, exists along with the latter. But whatever, everyone grab your yellow crayon and do the Snoopy dance with me. The trilogy is over. And who better to lift us up than Jane Espenson of Band Candy, Earshot, Superstar, and The Replacement fame. Abraham Benrubi is a lot of fun as Olaf. The episode is brimming with great humor and shrimpy inside jokes. I used to think Nicholas Brendon was the cast member with the best comedic timing in the series, but the deeper we get, the more I think it might be Emma Caulfield.
I only just figured out what the left pedal does. It makes us stop.
Spike has been a professed hedonist for all things human since becoming Part 2.
The truth is, I like this world.
He doesn't have to eat or drink anything other than blood, but he chooses to.
We're out of wheat or beef. Don't I get the cookie?
No.
Buffalo wings. Order me up a plate. I'm feeling peckish.
For some reason, the affectation does a lot to soften his character, but the height of it for me is probably his obsession with the bronze version of the bloomin' onion.
They've got this onion thing.
For anyone who doesn't know, the bloomin' onion is a 1,400-calorie appetizer you can get at the very American restaurant Outback Steakhouse. The funny part is both the name and device for making it are trademarked and patented by Outback, which is probably part of the reason Spike never refers to it by its proper name. The episode is just a ton of fun, with a couple of things that don't really work anymore, including a gropey appearance by Sweater Sniffer Spike. Yuck, not cute. Structurally, there are two parallel conflicts being worked out in the episode. Buffy grappling with a post-Riley world, and Willow and Anya figuring out how to make peace with each other. One mirrors the other in the way nearly every episode is in some way about Buffy's journey. In their bedroom scene together, Buffy tells Dawn that she is vacillating between feelings of anger and sadness over Riley's departure. We see the grief in all the bits played for fun. Olaf plugs into her anger. According to Willow's spell, Olaf is an ex of Anya's that she is still angry about, because
We know he cheated on me.
so Buffy facing Olaf represents her having to process her own feelings of anger and frustration at Riley.
I did not cheat! Not in my heart. With only one wench. I had had a great deal of mead.
As for Willow and Anya, I think the original intention of all this drama might have been that we would feel as torn as Xander between Willow's charming cat-in-the-hat antics and Anya's maybe abrasive literalness.
In case we need him, I'm getting more of all the things you stole.
I didn't. Why do you do that?
Tact is just not saying true stuff.
But the older I've gotten, the more I've actually been turning into the fish from Cat in the Hat. And Willow has no defensible position in this episode, other than Anya is
Newly human and strangely literal.
Willow acts judgy and entitled and then defends herself by personally attacking Anya.
Unless I'm really wrong about Crazy Larry down at the bus stop, he's probably not going to turn Xander into a troll.
And holy Hecate, that's some blinding hypocrisy from Willow. Judging how someone else might handle the pain of a relationship fallout? It's Sunnydale. Can't we just agree that spells, vengeance, and breakups happen? It's an emerging arrogance from Willow coinciding with her magical development, and I get it. But it's also a little disappointing because other than her mostly supporting role in the Tara-centric family, we really haven't had a lot of Willow this season. Anya expresses her anxiety over the fact that Xander and Willow have an intimate friendship, and Xander actually once cheated on Cordelia with her.
You've known him since you were squalling infants together. You'll always know him better than I do.
The two of them hash things out, as they both love Xander and want what's best for him, but I find two things odd about the whole exchange. The first is that any responsibilities Xander might have had in Anya's cheating scenario is never really mentioned, which feels like an echo of the opening where Xander and Anya put all the responsibility for the Biley breakup on Buffy. The second weird thing is that Willow defends her character from Anya's accusations, not by saying she would never do that or would never want to hurt anyone, but
That was a long time ago. Do you think I'd do that again?
Why not?
Well, hello, gay now.
in the interest of due diligence, it's worth mentioning I have heard this is now a pretty infamous line. The phrasing is cute, and Alyson Hannigan's delivery is perfectly Alyson Hannigan, but the line gets criticized for a couple of reasons. First, as celebrated as the show has been for depicting same-sex relationships in a positive light for its time, the specific line is considered an example of what's called bi-erasure, or bisexual invisibility, defined by GLAAD as a pervasive problem in which the existence or legitimacy of bisexuality, either in general or in regard to an individual, is questioned or denied outright. Considering the show from a critical perspective, until this line in question, Willow has not really been written as strictly gay. She has a well-established intimate relationship with Oz. She has an infatuation with Xander that was there since the beginning of the series. Tangentially, there's also the fact that Willow in Doppelgangland clearly had a thing for Vander, but also wasn't sure if she wanted to lick or bite her own neck, along with Sandy's in the bronze.
And I think I'm kind of gay.
Willow, just remember, a vampire's personality has nothing to do with the person it was.
Well, actually,
In a UK Metro interview from May 2020, Joss said he was pressured to not make Willow bisexual over fears her same-sex attractions would feel like a phase. Quoting, "If I did it now, I'd be like, yes, she can be bi, because some people are. But back then it was like, no, we're not ready for that." Not the greatest phrasing, but at this point the battles Whedon had over Willow and Tara's relationship with the network are part of the legend of the show. I wasn't able to find many first-hand quotes from the other Mutant Enemy writers regarding the topic, but in the years of doing this I have heard many unsourced mentions that they have acknowledged the omission. However, if you're interested in further reading, I've included links to some other perspectives more relevant, informed, or educated than my own in the description down below. When I think about the show, it's typically while peering through one of two lenses. The first is the critical one I look through while writing these videos. Through that one, Buffy looks to me like a constructed piece of fiction. Willow is an invented character, and that line now looks like a dated oversight, perpetuating a crappy legacy for some in the queer community. Worse, it's one that the show leans into later in the series. But if you think that's bad,
hold on to your butts.
The other lens I watch the show through is as a fan. Those are the moments when spending time with these characters feels deeply comforting, and I talk to other fans about them as though they were people we both knew at school. Can you believe what Xander was wearing in that episode? Sheesh! From that perspective, I think to myself, Willow gets to say how she identifies. It's her life. Her journey. I'm 42 and still figuring myself out. We do the best we can in the moment. And if this is what she says her sexuality is in this moment, at this time in her life, then so be it. Why should it diminish the beauty and the intimacy of anything that came before Tara? Still, I love this episode, and one of my favorite things is probably the way it gets all foreshadowy. This is Buffy, so whenever someone says the magic word...
I don't have a choice.
I have a choice. Who made your choice?
I didn't have a choice.
Well, you did.
You have a choice. You don't have a good choice, but you have a choice.
Something important is happening.
Choose Anyanka or the witch. One of your women must die.
In my video for the Angel episode Reunion, I highlighted that as with this parallel season of Buffy, Angel Season 2 has been exploring the idea of chosen family, if from a radically different perspective than Buffy has. Pivotal to Angel's second season plot has been his willingness to engage in a game put in front of him by Wolfram and Hart. It's a game with a predetermined set of decisions for him to make, but any of his potential options serve their ends, not completely unlike the options that Olaf, a troll god, puts in front of Xander. Anya tries to sacrifice herself, but Xander does what Angel hadn't by Reunion.
I'm not choosing between my girlfriend and my best friend. That's insane troll logic.
And refuses Olaf's game entirely, even if it means his death. After all, who would want to live in a world if these are the choices?
Desist! My God, woman. You are as aggravating and emasculating as ever you were.